What's up? My name is Yuki. How are you doing today? So in this video, we are going to talk about how to make API by using AWS Lambda and API Gateway. So the first question is, what's the API anyway? So the API is short for Application Programming Interface. So it's a kind of tool that you need when you want to interact with the database in programming. So for example, you want to get some data from the database, or maybe you have a data and then you want to upload that data to some other database to update the database. So in the real world context, API is very useful. For example, there's two companies, and then maybe one company want to pay some services from the other company, and then this other company is providing the very useful data, and then this company can make some business decisions. So how this company can get the data from this company, they can use API. The other example is maybe many companies have web applications, for example, some kind of data dashboard. And then this dashboard going to showing very useful information to you if you go to the browser. But the browser doesn't have that data. Typically, the browser is using this API to get some data from the company's database and then just showing the result from this database. So that's the API. So now we are going to see how we can make this API, because this API is very useful. So making an API is consisted of by two components. So first component is we have to make some kind of functionalities that API is actually going to do. In the previous example, maybe just getting the data from the database or updating the database. So the second component is we have to make something to invoke that functionalities to do the job in the program. To make this happen, we are going to use AWS Amazon Web Services, because this AWS has very convenient services to implement this API. The first services we are going to use is AWS Lambda, and then the second thing is AWS API Gateway. Oops. And then both services are very good because it's very easy to implement and easy to maintain. And also with the typical usage, it's a low cost. I say typical usage because this cost of AWS Lambda and API Gateway, it depends on how many times you're using this API. I'm going to just show you an example. So I came to this yukitem.com, my personal website. So in this section, you have a cost page and showing my daily cost of this web application. It's showing daily cost is less than 30 cents. This website is using Amazon API Gateway and also AWS Lambda. So it's actually making the API and using the API. So in my personal case, it's very cheap because it's showing cheap. But it totally depends on how to use this API. But with the typical case, it's low cost. So I just introduced AWS Lambda and Amazon API Gateway, so I'm going to see the detail of those two services. So explain the services in detail. So AWS Lambda, so this is something allows us to upload our code, and then we can run the code on the AWS infrastructures. So what we have to do is just focusing on programming for that functionalities. And this is very good because AWS is going to take care of the code is always available, and also just run the code very fast. And also probably you need to do some kind of setting the configurations, but Amazon can help you to do that. So that's about the Lambda. And then Amazon API Gateway it's something to implement, to invoke that AWS Lambda functions. And we should use this Amazon API Gateway because API Gateway is going to provide us a nice browser interface. We can intuitively implement this API. So we just go to the browser and then click some buttons, select something, click some buttons. There is no more additional technical coding stuff. That's nice because sometimes maybe you have to open the terminal like a black screen and then you type some kind of magic spelling thing, but you don't have to do that. So it's nice. It's nice services. When you implemented this AWS Lambda and then API Gateway, maybe you are going to search those keywords and then search how to make this API, and then maybe you're going to face this term, Lambda proxy integrations. And at first glance, it's not obvious what that means. It's kind of scary because it's same proxy, but this is the type of implementation we're actually going to do, and it's easy to implement. And also this Lambda proxy integration is type of way to make an API that AWS recommends to do. So you don't have to trust me, but I think you can trust AWS. So Lambda proxy integration is the way that we should do. And you want to know, if you want to know, you can go to Google and you have to type the keyword. This is a keyword, Lambda proxy integration. So from here, we are actually going to make some kind of example to make this API by using AWS Lambda and the API Gateway. So here I'm in Cloud9. Cloud9 is an online coding editor, integrated development environment IDE, offered by AWS. So I chose Cloud9 because Cloud9 is convenient for making AWS Lambda. Maybe in the future video, I can make a video only about AWS Lambda, and I can explain why I chose Cloud9, but here just simply say Cloud9 is convenient for AWS Lambda. So make AWS Lambda, we have to make one code, one Python program. I'm going to say lambda function.py. You cannot see it, so make it bigger. Lambda underscore function.py. So the name doesn't have to be lambda function.py, but it just convention to name this way. So inside this program, we have to at least have one function. So I'm gonna say lambda handler. And the function name doesn't have to be lambda handler, but it's just the convention to name this way. So I'm following the conventions. So this function gonna have two arguments, event and context. And then this function is going to return something. So inside this function, in the real world cases, you have to replace this with your business logic. For example, you have your company's specific database, and then you want to get some sort of data from that database and then transform the data, do something else, and then return something. But here, because this is just example, so I'm not going to use external database. I'm going to just generate some kind of data inside this function. So I'm going to make a data using Python list comprehension for in. So maybe I'm going to use range 10 from this data, and then I'm going to just pass this data. So data is a Python list containing integers starting from 0 and ending at 9. But with this, this API is kind of boring because every time I use this API is just going to give us 0 to 9, 0 to 9, 0 to 9. But I want to make this a little bit more interesting. For example, I want to specify some kind of parameters when I use the API, and with that parameter, the produced data is going to change. So here we are going to have the first requirement of the Lambda proxy integration. The requirement is the format of the incoming data to this function. So the requirement is every data you want to pass to the API goes into this event argument, event object, and the name is going to be query string parameters. And then inside this, you're going to have different keyword and data for example, I want to change this data. This is just starting from 0 to 9, but I want to change this data, for example, starting from different intercept and then different slope, and then I want to change the number of data. So this is type of data AX plus B you study in the score. So firstly, I want to get the intercept, and then I'm gonna pass to intercept variable. So Lambda proxy integration gonna make this string all the time, but I want it to be a number, so I'm gonna say float. Yeah, and then second thing I want to have, I want to get the slope, and this is also a number. And then Lambda proxy integration gonna put everything inside the event, and the same query string parameters, and then with the different keywords. So it's going to be slope, and then the number of data. I forgot the equal sign, and then this can be integer, and then the same query string parameters but different keyword as a count. So with this data, I can replace 10 with count, and then I can add intercept, and then I can multiply slope. So with this, we can generate different kind of line. But all the time, this is just a straight line, which is, I think, not visually appealing. So I'm going to just add random noise. So I'm going to plus random uniform, maybe -1 to 1, and I don't have random package, so I'm going to import random. Yeah, so with this, API going to allow us to specify parameters, and the API going to give us different kind of data depending on my input. And here we have a second requirement of the Lambda proxy integration, which is the format of the output of the function. So the return needs to be Python dictionary, and then we have to specify several parameters. First parameter is status code. We say 200. Second thing is headers, and then we have to provide access control allow origin, which is everything. So this is a header to avoid cause error. Cause is cross-origin resource sharing. So which is with these headers we can avoid cause error, which gonna occur when you invoke this API from browsers, and which is a very typical case because you want to have web application and the browser wants to able to use this function. So we have to add these headers. And then last thing is a body, and the inside body we can actually pass the data, but the requirement is it has to be JSON, and with Python we use JSON dumps, and then I don't have JSON package, so I'm going to import JSON. And then inside dumps we can actually pass, I say data, name can anything, and I'm going to pass data. So basically that's it. I want to test this function, so I'm going to make if name is equal main, and then I want to see the output, so I'm going to print it, and then what's the function name? Lambda handler, so lambda handler, and we have to provide the parameters, so which is event object and query string parameters, and then first argument is intercept. Maybe we can start from the simple case. Intercept is just 0, and then slope is just 1, and then number of data I want to have is maybe 10. So we can expect to have a data start from 0 to 9. So we pass this event object. We don't have context, so this is just the empty string. So with this, we can run this code. So here, maybe you have my face around here, so I'm gonna make it a little bit higher, and then say Python in the lambda function.py. Run it. We see some kind of data, but maybe some people wants to confirm this data is fine visually. So I'm gonna print this data by using list comprehension again. So say x in data, and then I'm gonna run this again, and then we can see the data vertically, and then I can copy this, go to Google Sheets and paste here, and then you can see the data visually. And as we expected, it's starting from 0 and then ending about 9. We have kind of noise because we add random noise by random package. Maybe I can test again. So this time, intercept somehow 10, and then we just saw upward line. So I want to see something going down. So maybe I'm going to specify -1, and then I want to see more data. So I'm going to say 50. And I'm going to run this again. You see more data, and copy this to Google Sheets. And you can see the charts starting around 10, going down, and we have more seed data. So I think the function working fine, so we are ready to upload this code to AWS. To upload the code, to make AWS Lambda, first thing we have to do is we have to make a zip file. So we are going to make a zip file called lambda function.zip, and I add lambda function.py. So we have lambda function zip file. And then to upload this code to AWS, I'm going to use AWS command line interface. Interface is something like this. So we say AWS, we use Lambda service, and we are going to create function. And function name is whatever name. I'm going to say make API. And we have specified several options, which I cannot remember. So I go to AWS command line reference, official AWS document, and here you have create function, and then you have a bunch of options. First thing is a runtime, this thing, and then I'm gonna say runtime using Python 3.8 version, and then handler, and handler is Python code name dot function name. So in my case, lambda function, and function name is lambda handler, so lambda handler. The other option is zip file. We made a zip file, so zip file is lambda function.zip. And lastly, we have to specify the role. Role is something to run this API, AWS Lambda, which you can find inside IAM section inside the AWS. So you find a role and then go to the ARN, Amazon Resource Name, and copy and paste it here, and then just click enter to make AWS Lambda. If you don't have the role, you can make it from the IAM. So with this, we can make AWS Lambda. So here I'm in AWS API Gateway. So now we are going to make something which is going to invoke the Lambda function we just created. So API type, we choose REST API. REST API is nice to implement Lambda proxy integration, so we choose REST API. Click build, and the API name, whatever name, API, make API, whatever name you want to, and then create API. From first thing we have to do is create resource, and then even though we see proxy there, we are making Lambda proxy integration. We don't have to check here. Resource name, I'm gonna type data because Lambda function gonna give me data, but it depending on your choice. And at the bottom, you see enable API gateway calls. This is the same as avoiding cross-origin resource sharing errors, and we want to avoid it, so we check it. And then create resource. With data highlighted, create method, and then from here you see a bunch of options, but we are going to choose any and click check mark. So this needs to be any because this is the requirement of Lambda proxy integration. It has to be any. Integration type, Lambda function, of course, and use Lambda proxy integration. Yes. And then Lambda region is the region that your Lambda function belongs to. In my case, US West 1. And then from the Lambda function, we are going to search the Lambda function we just made. In my case, function name is make API. So click save, click OK. And then basically that's it. But at the final step, don't forget to deploy this API. It often happens. I made a Lambda function, I made an API gateway, and then later we're going to see it, but you use the API, and then API somehow doesn't give me the result. Why? You just forget the deploy API. It often happens. So from actions, you click deploy API, deployment stage, new stage, whatever name. In my case, I choose test and deploy. And then with this, you're going to see some kind of URL here. That's the URL we can use to use this API. So as we saw, using API gateway is very intuitive. AWS give me a nice browser interface. Basically, you just click, select, click, and then the technical implementation is going to be done by AWS. So this is a nice tool. That's it for the AWS Amazon API Gateway. So now I came back to Cloud9 online programming editor in AWS. So now we are going to test the API we just created, and then we assume we are backend developer, which is responsible for using the API, getting the data from the API, and maybe you are going to upload the data to your company database. Here, I'm not going to do that, but in the real world context, probably the step you need to do. So to use the API with Python, it's typically use request package. You can confirm from pip list, you can see request package. But if you don't have this package, you can do pip install request to install that package. I'm not going to do that because I already have. So we are going to use requests package, and then to use the API, we need to have API URL, and which you can find. You're going back to the API gateway, and then you can find invoke URL somewhere around there, and then you're going to you copy this, and then paste it here. And then the way to use this is first you use request package, and then we want to get the data. So get data from the URL is, I'm going to use f string because I have to specify several parameter. So we are going to use API URL. And then because we made resource when we made API gateway, which was in my case data, and also AWS Lambda is expecting me to provide several parameters. So we are going to type question mark and then provide parameters. So intercept, we can start from simple example. So the intercept is 0, and then n ampersand, and slope is just 1 ampersand. Number of data count equal to 10. Basically that's it, and I want to see the results. So maybe I'm gonna make response variable and then pass the result to there, and then I want to see whether that was successful. So status code is, so this response object, oh, this is no response, response object are gonna have status code. status code, status code, and then we want to actually see the data. So the data, and then I'm gonna say response, and then this API gateway gonna give us in the JSON format. So I'm gonna say JSON, and then basically that's it. We can run this code. So Python test API, and we can see the data. But we can confirm the data is fine visually. So I can print the data here, use the list comprehension again so the data is inside the JSON keyword data. Oh no, I cannot type this data. So we are going to receive data, and then we want to print data. Okay, I'm going to run this again, and then we can see the data vertically, and then we can do the same, copy and paste it to Google Sheets, and then remove the unnecessary data. And then we can see, okay, this is intercept starting from 0. The one slope looks fine. I can use a different parameter. And so this time, starting from intercept 10 somehow, and the slope is negative minus 0.5, slightly moderate slope, and then count is, I want to see more data, so 50. And then I'm going to run this again. I see more data, and then copy this to Google Sheets. Paste here. Yes, it's starting from 10 and slightly moderate negative slope, and then we have more data. So we confirm that our API is working fine, and then we just saw to use the API, we can use request package, and then with some kind of get methods to get the data. So as a backend developer, this is the way that we can use API. We just made it. So now we want to test the API we created by assuming we are in the front end side. For example, you have a web application and then goes to the browser, and then browser going to use API and then show the data to the browser. So to test that, I'm going to use Angular. The Angular is one of the web development thing that we can use. And then to show the data to the browser, I'm going to use this ECharts. So ECharts has a bunch of things to visualize data easily. So to use that, I'm coming to this app module TypeScript, and then we have to import HTTP client module and also NGX ECharts module to use those functionalities, and then we have to do some import there. Okay, so now we are going to use them. So I'm coming to app component TypeScript, and then to use the HTTP client, I'm going to make private HTTP, and then type is HTTP client, and import from Angular. And then to use this, go into ng or init, and then we are going to use this HTTP. We want to get the data, so we are going to use get request, and then using the API gateway URL, which is coming back to API gateway, and then going to stages sections, and then we find an invoke URL, and then copy this, and then paste it to here. And then we want to use the resource data, and then we want to pass the parameters. So use question mark, and then bunch of key value pairs. So intercept, we can start from 0, and ampersand, and slope is some kind of going upward, so maybe we can use 2, and then number of data count, I don't know, maybe 100 this time, and then we want to subscribe this to actually get the data as a response. And then maybe we can just starting from checking whether we can receive the data. So I'm going to just console log out and response, and to see what the data is. basically this is fine. So I'm going to localhost 4200, and then I'm going to reload this page. Yeah, we can see a data in the console, and then type of the array of data. So the API is working fine inside Angular. So now we want to visualize this data. So we are going to use ECharts. And then we're going to use this basic line chart. And then there's an example. We have to make this option. And then ng ECharts, we have to paste this div to our template. So we can start from options. So we are going to make local variable options, type any. And then inside the subscribe, we are going to pass the data to this option. So I can copy and paste this option to here. And then now our name is this options. And we don't have to have this data here. And then this series data we can replace with the data we receive from API. So we are going to specify the type of data. Data is the array of numbers. So number array. And then here data response dot data. And then inside the template, we are going to copy the div. Here, copy and paste. Here, just check the name of the variable is the same options, and we have options, and this is fine. So I'm coming back to the localhost 42 handler, and then I'm going to reload this page. You will see. So the ECharts is working fine. I wanna check. I wanna test again. So I'm coming back to app components TypeScript, and then maybe we can start from, I don't know, starting from 100, and then slope is going to be maybe -3 to have sharp going down, and then the same data, and save this. Coming back to this web page, and then reload this page. Yeah. so the API is working fine. We can have different kind of data with the parameter we pass to the API, and then we can use Angular and then ECharts to visualize the data to the browser. So our API is working fine. So in this video, we've seen what's the API. We've checked the API concept, and also we are actually going to implement it, the API, by using AWS Lambda and Amazon API Gateway. We also check the API usage. For example, we use the Python request package by assuming how to use the API in the backend. We also use the Angular and ECharts to test the API in the front-end side. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you like this video, please subscribe. And then that's it for today. Thank you for watching.